side of Jordan here last night as Auburn, their first scrimmage of the spring. Meanwhile, the Coach Wimp Sanderson presented by Craneworks Mike Rodak with some putting a bow on the Alabama basketball season moving forward, who's returning, who is not, and talking football. And a lot going on. Caitlin Abor and Alex Golish addressing the media this afternoon to kind of give a state of the state and an update on how spring practice is progressing. And our buddy Barrett Sallee is going to be joining us here momentarily to talk Braves, as the Braves back in action tonight. One of the few teams, Pat, that was in action last night as they took on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Braves had their way with the Snakes.
They sure did. A big win last night for Atlanta, winning the game 17-2. Yes, 17-2. But, man, it was up and down the lineup. It was pretty impressive. Olsen went 3 for 5. He had 2 doubles, home run, 3 RBIs. Team hit 5 doubles, 4 home runs. Just incredible. Braves are the first Major League Baseball team since 1979 to have 11 different players with a hit and an RBI in a game since the Expos did it against the Astros back on June 17th of 1979. Team ERA for Atlanta, 2.00, second best in the majors behind the Yankees. Yankees have a 1.01 team ERA. Back in action tonight at 8:40. Grant Holmes on the bump. Braves 5-2 on the young season. Snakes now 3-4.
Drake Baldwin looked so good early on and how he's hitting the ball. But you know who is actually struggling, Pat, is Ronald Acuna. Acuna, of all of those guys, and he'll come along, I would hope. But right now, 167.
It's like my team. I think Aaron Judge is hitting 125 right now.
Yeah. Barrett Sallee, he is the post-game host, podcast host. He's with the Braves Radio Network. Everything you need to know about the Braves and where you're home for it all season long here on Jocks. He joins us now. Barrett, how are you? Chop on, how are you?
I'm great. Chop on, guys. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing great. I was just bemoaning. I'm finding things to complain about. We were 0-7 at this point last season. We're 5-2 this season, coming off a 17-2 win, and I'm sitting here griping about Ronald Acuna and the lack of production. Yes.
Yeah. Of all of the things to complain about, it's the former MVP who put up a 40-70 season 2 years ago. So, yeah, I get it. I understand. There's got to be something to complain about, and honestly, that would be the one thing that has not worked out well so far.
And so all the things that we talked about leading into the preseason, some of the unknowns, whether it's Walt Weiss, manager, some of the new pieces on the coaching staff, or the lineup position players, you've digested now 7 games. What is your impression of this 2026 Braves club?
Well, I think with Walt Weiss, I love the tweaks that he's made to his style, or the changes, like subtle things that are different than Brian Snitker, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more fluid with the lineup, a little more creative. That's not to say Snit was wrong. It's just a nice little change that I think can work well, especially for this team, because there's so much versatility, with positional versatility. I think for the Braves itself, the bullpen I thought was going to be the strength. I don't know if I anticipated them being this good, because they are just unbelievable. And then having Ronaldo Lopez do what he did his first 2 starts, and Bryce Elder do what he did in his first start, everything kind of worked out the way that it needed to, I guess, appease Braves fans and kind of, ease the worries of some things that I think were maybe overblown, but were still valid concerns.
Yeah, I've been more than impressed with Ray Lopez and what we've gotten from him in his first 2 starts. There was so much uncertainty. How was the arm going to hold up? And it's still early in the season, but good there. Good with Chris Sale. Now the question mark around a Spencer Strider, and then eventually maybe some other additions. But right now, there's not a whole lot to complain about, except for that day 5 starter.
Yeah, and that's going to probably be Martin Perez this week. But, yeah, with Ronaldo Lopez, they are protecting his arm. He could have pitched a lot longer yesterday, but when you put up 8 in the 5th inning, all you got to do is get through the 5th, and you're going to – that win, that pitching win does matter to pitchers, not only because, it shows a good start, but also from a financial standpoint, it helps too. He could have gone longer. But, I think for For the Braves, that fifth spot is a little bit of a concern for now. Spencer Strider is throwing a bullpen out there today. He's with the team. Walt said yesterday that he's going to need to probably have at least one rehab start. I would be kind of surprised if it was more than one, because Spencer's not going to go out there and throw in a rehab start until he knows he's good enough to go in the majors. So, he's pretty close. And so when that happens, then you don't need to worry about Martin Perez or whatever. And then, Didier Fuentes is down there in Gwinnett. He's starting today in Round Rock. They're stretching him out. Walt Weiss has flat out said he's going to be, stretched out for a couple of games. And, then I think the anticipation is that he's going to be up here. And from what we saw in spring and that one appearance when he went 4 in, I guess it was Sunday, he's ready too. So, starting pitching, the injuries hurt, and they created a little bit of a problem. But even still, I kind of looked at that staff, and I'm talking about like 8, 9 potential starters, thinking, okay, there are 8, 9 potential starters that, a few of them have to be good enough to be a number 4 or a number 5. So whoever they are, and right now it's Bryce and I would assume Martin Perez, they're fine as 4th or 5th starters. In fact, I think Bryce is a phenomenal 5th starter. I think he, in that spot, is exactly where he needs to be, especially if he pitches the way he did over the final 5 starts last year and then first start this year.
I know it's early, Barrett, but I am just curious, as you scoreboard watch and you get an opportunity to catch some highlights of the other teams in the NL East. And you told us last week, and I agree with you 100%, it's about how teams are going to be able to do against the Marlins, because the Marlins is a good baseball team. And so you need to take care of business when you have an opportunity. But watching the Mets against my Cardinals this week, my goodness, that team is a mess, a big-time mess. So what's your feelings about the rest of the NL East?
Yeah, I mean, the Marlins, like we said, that's a pretty good team. And what we've seen with, Jonah Heim and then Casey, they're going to be a problem. They're not going to probably make the playoffs. Maybe they do make the playoffs, but they're a problem. They're a pest for these teams. And the Mets, I don't want to blame an individual or 2 individuals or 3 individuals, but it seems like the clubhouse is still not harmonious. And I don't know why. I mean, Mike Francesca up in New York has some theories, and there are other people up there that have different theories as to who problems are, where the problems are. But they just don't seem to get along, even after the roster turnover. I don't know who to blame for it, honestly. But it does seem like that problem still exists. And so, if you have a bunch of individuals going in different directions, you're not going to have a ton of success, and that's true in every sport. It's true in every business. It's true everywhere. So, yeah, and then with the Phillies, I kind of always thought the Phillies at some point their age would just show, and it hasn't yet. I mean, it's still early, but to me, if I'm betting on what's going to happen with the Phillies, even if they're good for, a half or 3/4 of the season, it just feels like at some point they're going to break down a little bit. So I thought the Braves would win the division before the season, even after the pitching injuries. The depth on the roster has certainly helped. And after what we saw from the Mets, look, I was curious with what they'd be, because they've got talent everywhere, right? But it does kind of seem like the same Mets problems still exist. And, my theory is that it's the personalities. Again, I don't know who's who. I don't know what they are, but it does sort of seem like the lack of harmony in the clubhouse kind of still is there.
Yeah, they went 1 for 27 with runners in scoring position against the Cardinals, and you had Lindor forgetting how many outs there were in a very critical part of the final game of the series. Now, I will say this. I'm impressed on the back end with Weaver and Devin Williams. Now, that combination, Weaver obviously used to be with the Yankees, but now he's on the back end of the bullpen for the Mets, and Devin Williams has got the best changeup in baseball. So those two guys, but again, it's about getting to those guys with a lead, and that's just something they haven't been able to do yet.
Yeah, I've always been just interested in Devin Williams. Not concerned, just interested, because in his rookie of the year was the COVID year. So is he good, or was he just good for 60 games? I think it's clear, based on, what happened, I guess last year and then what we've seen this year, he's really good, like really good. So, yeah, again, if you're going battle of the bullpens, those two certainly have the best. And I don't know, like I just can't wait to watch this season, see how it works out because, again, like I'm pretty confident in the Braves, but the Mets have a really high ceiling. They also have a very low floor, which for the Mets usually means they find some way to get to the floor.
This is such a fanboy question, so don't crush me for this. But I'm curious because it's been and that's fine. First 7 games, it does seem like this version of the Braves under Walt Weiss playing harder.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, good.
And part of that is just philosophy, though. Part of that is just they're going to be more aggressive. They feel like they need to be a little bit more adherent to what the philosophy is. Last year the idea was that they'd come in and be a little bit more patient, and they didn't really do that. Maybe that was lack of familiarity with Tim Hires, and that Tim Hires being back with Walt's staff has really helped them sort of adhere to and accept what the goal is. We'll see if that continues. That might not continue. That might just be a virtue of just, hey, early season, we're excited to play, whatever. But it does. I agree with you. It does kind of feel that way. And again, it's kind of a philosophy thing, but also might just be a new early part of the season thing.
All right. So how many City Connect jerseys, the new ones, have you already ordered for friends and family?
Oh man,
I can go large or medium.
And
name's not important.
You're gonna have to prepay for that. I've already got 3. One for my son, order one for my daughter, and one for me. But I'm sure there'll be more. Now there's that new memorabilia place in the stadium, and they've got a bunch of just random jerseys. And so I'm thinking about just buying like a bunch of random ones like Eric Fetty and Cal Quantrill and just random people like that just because it's fun.
I love it. Barrett Sallee continuing to join us, Braves Radio Network. Braves back in action tonight on the road in Arizona, game 2 of that 4-game series, and then they're going to take on the Angels in Anaheim. So given the start to this road trip, if you're looking at a all-encompassing 7 games, I would have said 4-3 would have been good, but maybe aim the sights a little bit higher for this road trip.
Yeah, I still think 4-3 is fine. I'm not going to reach for the stars. Early on, the Diamondbacks are dangerous, 17-2 notwithstanding. So 4-3 is fine. When you're going up against Mike Trout in LA, especially the start that Mike Trout has had for the year, you don't want to take stuff for granted. So 4-3 is fine. I think anything above that would be, a welcomed, addition. And something that I think Braves fans would be more than pleased with. Because, again, it's early in the season. You go out west, what are you really expecting,
I get it. And it's a long season. But it's a much better start to this season than it was last season. And I think Barrett, first and foremost, would agree with everyone on that. I'm sure your listeners and your viewers really appreciate it, too.
Yeah, getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning after a 17-2 win is a lot more enjoyable than a walk-off Shohei Ohtani home run and then getting home at 2 o'clock.
That's right. Barrett Sallee back at it tonight as the Braves on the Braves Radio Network. You can hear all season long on our network of Jock stations. Barrett, we always appreciate the time. Happy Easter. Happy Good Friday to you and your family, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy Easter to y'all, too. God bless.
God bless. That is Barrett Sallee, Braves Radio Network on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. More news you need to know on this Good Friday. We'll get to it next on 3 Man Front. 12:19, three-man front on this Good Friday. Hope you and your family doing well as we celebrate Easter this Sunday. How about our friends at Noto Roofing? Noto Roofing, I got to know those guys pretty well over the past year. Sammy and Matt, they're brothers. I actually grew up with them here in the Metro Birmingham area, and they got a talented team. But Noto Roofing, locally owned and operated, so this is not a national company just dropping in some satellite workers. No, these are folks that were raised here, they were born here, and they have worked here in the great state of Alabama and for much of Metro Birmingham for their entire lives. Noto Roofing, they're going to warranty the work they do. They're going to come out to your house like they did my house for the free inspection. I just wanted the peace of mind. Well, guess what? It turns out I had damage from hail. Had some wind damage, had a lot of hail damage. And what does that hail damage mean for an older roof? Well, that means that we actually had water that was coming through our attic that we did not know about. But guess what? We're getting a new roof thanks to our friends at Noto Roofing, working and assisting in the claims process. Any questions I had, they were quick there to answer it. I could not have asked for a more seamless process. Noto Roofing, putting a new roof on my house. They can do it for you as well. NOTOroofing.com. That's NOTOroofing.com. Noto Roofing. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jock sent you.
So with the Final Four this weekend, and obviously we all know what All-Americans mean, the title that is awarded to the top players in whatever sport it may be, whether it's baseball, women's basketball, men's basketball, college football, whatever the case may be. The Sporting News, this is their 140th anniversary as a publication, the Sporting News. So what the publication did is they went back. Okay, I understand we might have something coming in right now.
Well, that sound means there's breaking news on the show. For more, we send it to our foreign field correspondent live from Moscow, one Conrad Van Woodard.
Well played, Landrum. Thank you. I hope the connection is crystal clear from overseas. But yes, this is being reported by Pete Thamel of ESPN a minute ago, and that is that Arizona and head coach Tommy Lloyd have agreed to a new long-term deal with the school. It is going to be a new 5-year contract that will make him one of the 5 highest paid coaches in all of college basketball. And in addition to the report about the new contract, Pete Thamel added that Tommy Lloyd was complimentary of North Carolina and said that a reported phone call with Michael Jordan never happened. He said, quote, "My Michael Jordan is Steve Kerr," in reference to the former Arizona star and now the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. That was kind of an interesting quote there. But
yeah, it was very interesting. I would let that off with Tommy Lloyd.
But yes, Tommy Lloyd will be the head coach at Arizona moving forward. And
all right, he fooled me.
He will make, starting this upcoming season, $7.2 million a year.
He fooled me because of all the things he was saying. He wasn't saying, I'm never going to take the North Carolina job. I'm not interested in the job. All he said was, I'm not a multitasker. I can only focus on what we're doing right now.
All right, now Ward Manuel's up. Can he get Dusty May signed to a long-term extension?
Or is it going to be Billy Donovan? I mean, if you have Billy Donovan, because think about how many big-time programs that have made runs at Billy Donovan over the past, and he said, no, I'm good where I am. Now he wants to come back, and you're North Carolina? I think it's a no-brainer.
Well, it's big for Arizona to get him locked up and get him recommitted to the Wildcats.
I like that. It might be good for Molly. She likes Michigan. You know what happens when coaches sign big contracts before big games?
Usually they lose.
Yeah. I guess it worked for Signetti, but.
Yeah. As I was saying, the Sporting News, celebrating their 140th year as a publication, they have come out with their all-time All-American list. So basically, they gave you a first, second, and third team. So it's 5 players from college basketball. College basketball All-Americans. Here is their first team All-Americans all-time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Whatever. No, he was great.
Played at UCLA. Bill Walton, also a Bruin. Oscar Robertson from Cincinnati. I'm sure Conrad has no idea who Oscar Robertson is.
I know who all these people are.
Did he know Wilt?
Bill Russell, who played at San Francisco. and David Thompson from NC State. According to the Sporting News, that is their all-time first-team All-Americans. Second team. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting. Pete Maravich, LSU.
Yeah, he's all right.
Larry Bird.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, whatever.
Patrick Ewing.
Too small.
Great player, not a great coach.
Elvin Hayes from Houston. Making the second team, according to the Sporting News, the final member of that second team of all time, Christian Lettner.
Ah, okay.
So let's kind of go to the third team and let's see who got left off. And they said that Christian Lettner was a better basketball player.
I would have thought that we would have gotten James Worthy by now.
Here's the third team. Michael Jordan.
Or his teammate.
Magic Johnson.
See, I would have thought he would be higher, but okay.
Yeah, Magic. Yeah.
Danny Manning.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Jay Williams.
Hmm.
And the final member of the third team, according to the Sporting News, all time, Tyler Hansbrough, North Carolina. That one was a shock.
He was good. He was a big deal.
Hansborough was a big deal. So was Greg Ostertag. Eric Montross.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's the only player off that list that I guess was very
Big country.
prominent in my childhood when I was growing up, and he would not be the one that I would pick from that era, probably.
Well, the first team that was not from my era. Half of them were not from our era.
No, but they're like the greatest basketball players of all
So
time.
Lettner was the first player to start in 4 NCAA Final Fours.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But he had some big shots.
Did he?
He did.
I've only seen them a couple dozen times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was an easy guy not to like.
I was about to say he's probably the least likable.
Let me give you a snapshot because I came up and it was middle school when Duke was pretty good. Well, they were really good through middle school and high school. But those Leitner years, that was middle school. And I can remember not only my girlfriend, but all the girls most of the girls in my grade and our friend group, they all thought that Christian Leitner was just dreamy.
Mm.
They thought he was cat's me out.
It's because he's a bad boy. That's
Couldn't
why.
stand him.
They pointed out that he was a unanimous All-American in 1992, and the two players that were obviously given serious consideration that were better than Christian Lettner that year was Shaq O'Neal and Alonzo Mourning.
How do you? Oh man! Just those. Just stop at Shaq.
Just about to say, how do you leave Neon off the list? I mean, come on.
No, just stop at Shaq.
Tyler Hansbrough.
See, from that, I mean, I would have.
That is so.
I would go Kevin Durant.
That's so tough to pick
Steph.
those lists, though. You think about how many. There's great basketball players, and we're going all time, AP.
Hansbrough averaged 18.8 points per game in his career. And I'm taking that back. That was his freshman year.
I mean, he was really good, but that is a surprising addition.
He averaged 20 points over his career.
So, okay, I'd be fascinated why. So they almost put Shaq over Christian Leitner, but then he wasn't on the third team?
No, they're talking about that particular year when he was a unanimous All-American.
Oh, from that specific.
He was the player of the year, just like Cooper Flagg was the player of the year last year in college basketball. They're pointing out that Leitner was the unanimous player of the year
Over
that year
them,
over Shaq and Alonzo Mourning.
Okay, I got you.
Yes. So, interesting list as we get ready for the Final Four. 1-800-239-WJOX. We'll get back to your text messages as well. 205-834-9450. It is 12:33 here on Jocks. A little bit of college basketball breaking news. You just heard Conrad mention a few moments ago, Tommy Lloyd and the University of Arizona, they have agreed to a contract extension. So if you're a North Carolina basketball fan, you might ought to check his name off the box. I was just reading some of the Inside Carolina websites detailing what's next, and there's a strong indication that they're willing to play the long game, and that long game can also include not only Dusty May, who's playing in the Final Four this weekend, coaching his Michigan team, but also Billy Donovan. The Chicago Bulls season ends on April the 12th, and Inside Carolina, which is the On3 site behind the paywall, they are mentioning that if Billy Donovan is the guy, that Carolina is willing to wait until April the 12th to name a head coach, which would be interesting, Landrum, because the transfer portal opens up on Monday.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a behind the eight ball a little bit.
And that was why with the whole Billy Donovan thing, when the job first came open, it was, would he be willing to maybe step away early because the Bulls aren't making the postseason. They're having a bad season. But yeah, you'd be behind the eight ball quite a bit.
But it definitely seems to be the three names that they have been mentioning the whole time has been Tommy Lloyd, Dusty May, and Billy Donovan.
For those who have forgotten the acumen of what Billy Donovan was able to do other than the national championships, I had forgotten that he was at Florida as many years as he was.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was double digits. I didn't think it was as many as it is. And he won 71% of his games.
It's really good. How long was he there? I would have guessed like 12 years.
96, 97 was his first season at Florida. His final season was 2014, 2015.
Wow, so he's there for almost 20 years. Wow.
I could, if you would have asked me with a gun to my head, I would have told you 12, 13 seasons.
Yeah.
Never as many, but 71%? Pretty strong. 3 Final Fours, 2 national championships.
He's good. And I know the Bills aren't very good right now, but I mean, he was great with the Thunder when he took over that organization, because that's where he went after Florida. He's a great coach.
His first 2 seasons at Florida, he went 13-17 and 14-15. After that, all 20s. Until his final season when he went 16-17.
Yeah, and of course, Billy as a player at Providence, and I saw him in person back in '87 when the 6-seeded Providence Friars came down to Birmingham, and I'll never forget Selection Sunday because UAB was the host, and UAB got to play at Legacy Arena, then the old BJCC, and they played Billy Donovan, and they upset UAB, and that was huge. And that got Providence going in the right direction, and as irony would have it, Billy Donovan and the Friars would then end up playing Wimp Sanderson in Alabama and Louisville, Kentucky. To this day, Rick Pitino still says that win against Wimp and Alabama in the Sweet 16 in Louisville was one of the biggest wins of Rick Pitino's career.
Billy Donovan as a player was one of those guys that he sought the opportunity to rip your heart out. Just one of those guys who embraced that moment, wanted that moment to be able to knock down the shot that breaks your heart.
He had 26 points against Alabama that day. He was 5 of 6 from the 3-point line.
And he was so good from outside.
And by the way, he had 10 assists.
So you're telling me he wasn't a me guy?
And you beat Alabama. Alabama was a number 2 seed that year. And they didn't squeak by Alabama. They beat Wimp 103-82. A 21-point win against a 2 seed. He was something else. And then when he got into coaching, you saw what he did in Gainesville.
Well, everybody said, look out. This guy's going to be good. And sure enough, he was. It was the Eddie Munster look. Remember?
Yep. That's
what he was known for in the SEC with that hair. The Eddie Munster look. Boy, he could coach.
He did.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Some interesting texts all across the board. We'll get to them all on this Good Friday. Coach sends one in. He says, I'm so old that my favorites were Oscar Robertson, Pete Maravich. We were laughing at school about Lou Alcindor changing his name and how Southern white boys pronounced it. LOL. Kareem. I knew Kareem is Kareem. Doug says, I'll check out first the audio for myself, but if his moon take was serious.
Oh, yeah. Greg said this morning he doesn't think that we landed on the moon.
I can't trust a man who seriously believes that about moon landings. You made a tongue-in-cheek comment, right, about landing on the moon. You weren't serious in saying you don't think we ever landed on the moon.
Oh, I don't know if I said that. No, we absolutely landed on the moon.
Okay.
If I did say
I'm
that, yeah.
clearing that up for Doug.
No, I think he was talking about Greg this morning, who was very adamant that we never landed on the moon. But yes, we did. There's proof of it. And of course, I would be the one to know this. If you don't want to believe us, the Soviets also have confirmed that we landed on the moon. And that's who we were in the space race with. So if there's anybody that was going to deny it, it would have been the Soviets. And even they confirmed, yeah, the evidence is too hard to deny. So
I'll be an American. Hey, did I see a little patriotism coming out?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's starting to eke out a little bit. Oh, is this breaking news for your patriotism? That sound means there's breaking news on the show. So one of my favorite Patriots sitting by, one Pat Smith. Good Friday. Happy Easter, Pat.
Happy Easter. Good Friday. This just in, ESPN is reporting that today, Aden Holloway's his campus ban has been reversed. So Aden Holloway, according to ESPN, his campus ban has been reversed, and Alabama star Aden Holloway is planning to enroll in fall classes and hoping to rejoin the team next season pending the outcome of his legal case, his attorney Jason Neff told ESPN on Friday. That decision, however, is out of Holloway's hands after he was arrested days before his team's first-round matchup against Hofstra in the NCAA tournament when police executed a search warrant and found 2.1 pounds of marijuana in his apartment. School officials banned him from campus and classes as a result. That ruling was reversed on Friday following a hearing, according to his attorney. He can now attend classes and enroll in future classes.
Unrelated story. There's an impromptu bonfire planned for the quad tonight. Wow, interesting. Without knowing any of the other developments in the investigation and what the West Alabama Drug Enforcement Task Force has learned for Alabama to reinstate him and say that he's welcome to come back on campus, that tells me a little bit.
I saw the other day, I believe he was indicted on his charges, and as far as his court, the process of the court proceedings will go. So, I mean, we'll see what the legal process finds. If he gets cleared of this, then I'm sure he'll be back on the team. And if not, then he won't be.
Good news is last Friday, he didn't skip the country.
No, he just went to Texas to watch his sister.
Would that not have been something if Alabama would have made it to the Final Four?
Oh, and he could have potentially.
And that decision came down today? And then he would have been in Indianapolis for the Final Four tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, at least in that case, we would know why that they had the reversal of the decision to ban him from campus.
People are going to love that when he's on the team next year.
Man.
So you think he'll be back on the team? You think Nate Oates that they will allow him back?
Yes. Unless there's something legally that prevents him from participating. Yes.
I would say 2.1 pounds of marijuana that they deemed that you were selling in your apartment. But without knowing any of the other details in the investigation, who knows? Maybe he complied.
I just go back to what Nate said after it of you don't give up on your guys and those relationships, and he's...
And I agree with that.
Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. I just, based on what we've heard from Nate Oates, and
kid made a bad mistake. He needs to learn from it, not make that mistake again. But I agree with you. You made a commitment to him. He's still a young man. He's not a grown man. I'm not going to call him a grown man, but you made a commitment to his family that you were going to look after his best interests. And
And let's be honest, he's a good player.
Yeah, you start there.
And I would think, based on the comments by Nate Oates leading up till today, Nate Oates has given the indication that they would welcome him back. And I would think that if they would not want him back, his attorney would not be saying that he plans on enrolling classes in the fall and joining his teammates for next year.
I would think he would have the idea that he would be, if he is cleared, that he would be welcome back after whatever punishment or whatever they go through with him on the team. Yeah.
It's just the amount of what they found where I'm.
Well, and he clearly, if that's the case, like has an issue. And how do you address that issue and make sure that that doesn't happen again in the future? Even if it's not 2.1 pounds. I would say that would be a challenge.
If he needs a prescription, then get him a prescription. I don't know what he's dealing with. A legal situation, obviously. But good news for him, as long as he's a free man, he's going to be able to go and continue to earn his degree and maybe play some basketball.
Mm-hmm. And I would assume that whatever NIL arrangement he has with Yale, Alabama, that he's still being paid.
Coach, I think I want to change my minor to agriculture.
Yeah. I think we've seen with these NIL agreements, those things are ironclad. That could be waiting on him if he did get sentenced. When he gets out, you got a nice little nest egg. They just keep getting the payments. Well, good news, I guess.
Yep. Alabama basketball fan.
One less guy you got to replace maybe.
Perhaps so. Now's the right time to check about the safety of your trees on your property. And Golston Tree Service is that company that can help you at 205-337-4443. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. No job is too big or small, from trimming to tree removal to grinding the stump and roots out to hauling away the last stick. They have everything it takes to completely remove a tree. They also offer that very important 24-hour emergency storm work service. Call Golston Tree Service today and let them give you a free assessment of any issues that you think that you might have on your property. It's a good time to do it before we get all these spring storms coming in, and you can have some trees fall on your deck, your home, or even your car in your driveway. So give them a call today to get started. Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4443.
A lot of texts coming in. We will get to those texts. You guys are firing them in at a fast pace. Three-man front continues on this Good Friday. Three-man front here on this Good Friday. Landry, Pat, Conrad, and Molly. We'll get back to your text. Want to remind you, whether it's tonight, whether it's this weekend for the Final Four, you want to catch some college baseball, Major League Baseball, you can do it there at the Finnick. Also, some live entertainment. You got acoustic music in the afternoons. Going to have a live band that cranks up at 10 o'clock tonight. But the Finnick, your ultimate sports bar experience. 283-inch projector screen, video boards. You got TVs everywhere. And this is just it's a great place to go with friends. If you want that upscale atmosphere, but it also has that good old homey type bar feel. But the menu is outstanding. They're adding things to the menu all the time, and it's things that are derived and locally inspired, like the Conecuh corn dogs, if you want that for a starter, a shareable, or you want to go fork and knife. Great burgers and signature cocktails. They're going to have drink specials, appetizer specials going on this weekend as well. It's the Finnick, the ultimate sports bar experience, 1630 2nd Avenue South. Open late this afternoon, all weekend long, 1630 2nd Avenue South. I'll see you at the Finnick.
All right, so if you're just joining the program, a little bit of breaking news just moments ago. It's being reported that Aden Holloway, his ban from campus at the University of Alabama, has been reversed, so he is allowed back on campus. According to his attorney, he can now attend classes, and the plan is for him to enroll in future courses in the fall. And he will be back on the basketball team playing for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, he still has the legal issues that he is being faced with, which are serious, by the way. They are felonies. So we'll see what takes place in the coming weeks and months on that front. But according to his attorney, Jason Neff, he tells ESPN his campus ban has been reversed, and his intent is to rejoin the team next season.
What's fascinating about this is most of the time in these cases, we hear we're going to let the legal process work its way out and figure itself out before we make any. But Alabama doing this tells me that they have got some information that they trust and they feel good about moving forward. Otherwise, you're not going to put that out there. I mean, why put it out there now as opposed to just sneaking it in in July?
Also in college basketball, this was being reported about 30 minutes ago that Tommy Lloyd, he has accepted a contract extension at the University of Arizona. According to Matt Norlander from CBS Sports, he says that the University of North Carolina offered Tommy Lloyd a top 2 contract in all of college basketball. That he would have either been paid the number 1 or the number 2 highest deal in all of college basketball, but he turned it down to stay at Arizona. He will get a bump up to $7.2 million starting next season. And here's the most interesting thing that I've just now seen being reported. Remember when I told you about an hour ago before the news of Tommy Lloyd that I had heard that there was an issue between the athletics director at Arizona and Tommy Lloyd? Remember that?
Yeah.
According to Matt Norlander, in this new contract, Tommy Lloyd will no longer report to the athletics director.
Woo!
So I guess my information was somewhat right on.
Guess he made that phone call to Steve Kerr. Steve, call the president. I'm not reporting to that fella anymore.
I'm gonna report directly to the president. No athletics director.
Otherwise, I'm going to Chapel Hill. That's all it took. Well, that ought to be fun conversations in their all-staff meetings.